Hello students, how are you all doing? I hope that you must be very well. Today we are doing a one sum from JEE IIT examination paper 2015. Okay, one sum from there. The question reads like this. Let omega, which is not equals to 1, be a complex cube root of unity. If 3 minus 3 omega plus 2 omega squared whole to the power 4n plus 3 plus 2 plus 3 omega minus 3 omega squared whole to the power 4n plus 3 plus minus 3 plus 2 omega plus 2 omega squared whole to the power 4n plus 3 equals to 0. Then the possible values of n is or are. So here n is the integer, okay, and here the possible values of n are given 5 values 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. From these 5 values we have to find out which values of n will satisfy this equation. Okay, there may be more than one value of n can satisfy this equation. So we have to find all those values of n which are satisfying this equation. Okay, now see here the knowledge you have to need is that 1 plus omega squared is equals to 0. If omega is the cube root of unity, complex cube root of unity, then 1 plus omega squared value is 0. And the one more knowledge you have to need that omega cube is equals to 1. Okay. Now these two knowledge you have to need for solving this problem. Okay. Now we are starting from this equation. Okay. So this equation is like this: 3 minus 3 omega plus 2 omega squared whole to the power 4n plus 3 plus 2 plus 3 omega minus 3 omega squared whole to the power 4n plus 3 plus minus 3 plus 2 omega plus 3 omega squared whole to the power 4n plus 3 equals to 0. Okay, now see what we will do. I am writing this expression like this. Okay, here I am writing 2 plus 2 omega plus 2 omega squared. So here I have written 2. So but here it is 3. So I have to add 1 more. So 2 plus 1 will become 3. Okay, I have to make them equal. Okay. Now here it is 2 omega I have written, but here in the problem it is minus 3 omega. So I have to write minus 5 omega, because 2 omega minus 5 omega I will have minus 3 omega, and 2 omega squared I have written 2 omega squared. So this and this are equal. Okay, whole to the power 4n plus 3. Okay, now here this expression I am writing it like this. See, okay, I am writing 2 as 2 plus 3 omega. I am writing here 2 omega plus 2 omega squared. So here it is 2 I have written as 2. Here it is 3 omega, but I have written here 2 omega. So one more omega I have to write here. So 2 omega plus omega is 3 omega. And here I have written 2 omega squared, but here it is given minus 3 omega squared. Okay, so I have to subtract minus 5 omega squared. because minus 5 omega squared plus 2 omega squared, I will get minus 3 omega squared. So they will become equal. Okay. Now this is whole to the power 4n plus 3. Now here I am writing it here minus, okay, and here sorry, here this is plus, okay. Here also I am writing 2 plus 2 omega plus 2 omega squared. Okay. So but here it is given 3 omega squared. I have written here 2 omega squared. So I am writing here omega squared. 2 omega squared plus omega squared will become 3 omega squared. And see, this is minus 3. Minus 3 is, we can write minus 3 as minus 3 into 1. Okay. So minus 3 and one value I have already told you that one value is omega cube. So this is 3 omega cube. Okay. So minus 3 is equal to minus 3 omega cube. So here I have written, okay, what, plus 2 I have written. So sorry, here what was the in the problem was given. Here in the problem it is minus 3. So I have written here plus 2. Okay, that means I have to subtract minus, I have to add minus 5. So minus 5 I am writing as minus 5 omega cube, because minus 5 omega cube is equals to minus 5. Okay, so 2 minus 5, okay, I will have minus 3. Okay, so minus 3, this 2 minus 5 is minus 3. 2 omega I have written 2 omega. Okay, and 3 omega squared I have written as 2 omega squared plus omega squared. So this and this become equal, whole to the power 4n plus 3 is equals to 0. Okay. Now see, we know that 1 plus omega squared value is 0. Here I have showed you 1 plus omega squared value is 0. So if I multiply this all terms by 2, so what we will have? 2 into 1 2 plus 2 omega plus 2 omega squared value will be also 0 if I multiply both the sides with 2. Okay. So 2 plus 2 omega plus 2 omega squared value will be 0. So here what we have? So this is 2 plus 2 omega plus 2 omega squared. So this value will be 0. Okay. And similarly this value will be 0 and this value will be also 0. So no need of writing 0. Okay. So this become equals to 1 minus 5 omega whole to the power 4n plus 3. And here we are having omega minus 5 omega squared whole to the power 4n plus 3. And here we have omega squared, okay, minus 5 omega cube whole to the power 4n plus 3 is equals to 0. Okay. Now see what we are doing. Now, okay, now what we will do? We will take here, okay, we are writing this as it is. Okay, 1 minus 5 omega, first expression I am writing just like it is, 1 minus 5 omega whole to the power 4n plus 3, and here there is omega common from here. Okay, so I am taking omega common out. So when I will take omega out, so that will become omega to the power 4n plus 3. Okay, so this will be omega to the power 4n plus 3, because this whole expression is raised to the power 4n plus 3. So what will be left inside the bracket after taking omega out? It will be 1 minus 5 omega. Okay, because omega I am taking common, so here it will be 1 and here it will be minus 5 omega whole to the power 4n plus 3. And from here I am taking omega squared out. Okay, So there is omega squared and here it is omega cube. So from here I am taking omega squared out common. So that will be omega squared whole raised to the power 4n plus 3. Okay. So that will be omega squared whole to the power 4n plus 3, and inside the bracket what will I will have after taking omega squared out? It will be 1 minus 5 omega whole to the power 4n plus 3, that will be equals to 0. Okay. So now see, this equation we have got. Now you are noticing here that in this there is 1 minus 5 omega whole to the power 4n plus 3 common in all the terms. So we are dividing that the throughout with 1 minus 5 omega to the power 4n plus 3, because this cannot be equals to 0, because omega value was told to us that omega is okay. So we are dividing whole throughout with 1 minus 5 omega whole to the power omega 1 minus 5 omega whole to the power 4n plus 3. Okay. So dividing throughout by, so dividing throughout by, okay, 1 minus 5 omega whole to the power 4n plus 3. So what we will have after dividing each term with 1 minus 5 omega, because this is common in all the terms, so I will have left, so this divided with this, there will be 1, and here this divided, so there will be omega to the power 4n plus 3, and here this is cut out, so left we will have omega squared whole to the power 4n plus 3, this will be equals to 0. Okay. Now here powers are multiplied, so there is the power is 1, so 1 into this, so this will be omega to the power 4n plus 3, and here it will become omega to the power, okay, now okay, so no, don't do like this. See what you will do. Here I am writing 1 plus omega to the power 4n into omega to the power 3. Okay, because when the bases are the same, powers will be added up. So I am writing omega to the power 4n plus 3 as omega to the power 4n into omega to the power 3. Plus, similarly I am doing here also. So this will be omega to the power 2 whole to the power 4n, okay, into omega 2 into 3, that will be omega to the power 6. So that I am writing omega to the power 3 whole squared is equals to 0. Okay, and we know that because here I have written as omega squared whole to the power 4n multiplied with omega squared whole to the power 3, which I have written as omega cube whole to the power 2. Okay, so same thing will be there. So we know that omega cube value is 1. So this will be 1 into this, okay, will be 1, omega to the power n. So this will be omega to the power 4n, okay, because 1 into this I will have omega to the power 4n. Similarly, this value is 1. So 1 squared is 1. So 1 into omega, this omega squared whole to the power 4n. So this will be omega to the power 8n. Okay. So this will become omega to the power 8n. Okay. So this will become equals to 0. Okay. Now see, I have to find now the values of which values of n will satisfy this equation. Okay. Now see here. So I have arrived at what? 1 plus omega to the power 4n plus omega to the power 8n is equals to 0. Now I am checking, okay, which values of n from 1 to 5 is satisfying this equation. So I am putting separately the values of n. Okay, now I am checking by putting 1. Okay, Now here putting, so this is equation, suppose I am writing it as 1, first equation. So putting n equals to 1 in the first equation. Okay, so what I will have if I put the value of n as 1? So I will have it 1 plus omega to the power 4, because n into 1 will be 4, 4 into 1 will be 4. So this will be 4 plus this will become omega to the power 8 is equals to 0. Okay, so this I can write omega to the power 4 as omega cube into omega, because the bases are the same, the powers will be added up. And here similarly this I am writing as omega to the power 6 into omega squared. So omega to the power 6 I am writing it as omega cube whole squared into omega squared is equals to 0, because then when the bases are equal, powers will be added up. So here I will get omega to the power 8. Okay, and we know that omega to the power 3 is equals to 1. So 1 into omega will be omega. Okay, so this will become 1 plus omega, and here also omega cube is 1. So 1 squared is 1. So 1 into omega squared is equals to omega squared. So we are getting 1 plus omega squared is equals to 0, and this is the property of the complex cube root of unity, that 1 plus omega squared value is always 0. So by putting the n value 1, we are getting this expression which is equals to 0. So the n value is satisfied. So this n value equals to 1 is the value of this value of n, which will satisfy this equation. Now we are checking by putting n is equals to 2. Okay, now by putting n equals to 2, now let us check what we are getting. So here if I put the, okay, now we are putting now n equals to 2. So what I will get? 1 plus, okay, here n value is 2. So 4 into 2, it will be 8. And here it will be omega to the power 8 into 2, 16. So that is equals to 0. Okay, now I am breaking this 1 plus omega to the power 8. I am writing it as omega to the power 3 whole squared into omega squared, because omega to the power 3 whole squared will be omega to the power 6 into omega squared, which will have omega to the power 8. Similarly, I am writing omega to the power 16 as omega cube whole to the power 5 into omega. So here omega to the power 3 whole to the power 5, this will become omega to the power 15 into omega. So this I will get omega to the power 16. Okay, and omega to the power 3 value is 1. Okay, so 1 squared will be 1. So 1 into omega squared, I will get omega squared. And similarly, omega cube is 1. So 1 to the power 5 will be 1. 1 into omega is omega. So here also we are arriving at 1 plus omega squared is equals to 0. And we know that this value is 0. Okay, so n value is equals to 2 is also satisfied this given equation. Okay, now so 1 and 2 are both satisfied. Okay, now let us check n equals to 3. By putting n equals to 3 and n equals to 4 and 5 also, we will do similar way. Check it. Okay, now I am putting n equals to 3 here. Okay, so now putting number 3, I am putting n equals to 3. Okay, so let us now check. So here it will be 1 plus omega to the power 3, 4 into 3. What I will have? 12. And here 8 into 3 will be 24 is equals to 0. So this I am writing it as 1 plus omega to the power 12. I can write omega to the power 3 whole to the power 4. So 3 into 4 will be 12, and omega to the 24, I am writing omega to the power 3 whole to the power 8 is equals to 0. So because 3 8 is 24, so we know that omega cube value is 1. Okay, so this is 1. So 1 to the power 4 is 1, and here omega cube is 1. 1 to the power 8 is 1 is equals to 0. So 1 plus 1 plus 1, 3. 3 value is not equals to 0. So n value is equals to 3 is not satisfying. So n equals to 3 cannot be the solution of this. Possible n it cannot be 3. Okay. Now let us check n equals to 4. Okay. So putting n equals to 4 in the given equation. So what we are getting? 1 plus here omega 4 into 4 will become 16. Omega to the power 16 plus omega, here I am putting value of n 4. Okay. So 8 into 4 will be 32. Okay. Is equals to 0. So I am writing omega to the power 16 as omega cube whole to the power 5 into omega, because 3 into 5 will become 15. 15 plus 1, 16. So this will become omega to the power 16. So omega to the power 16, I am writing it as like this. Okay. Similarly, omega to the power 32, I am writing it as omega to the power 3 whole to the power 10. So 3 10s are 30 into omega squared. So that is equals to 0. So omega to the power 3 value is 1. So 1 into omega is omega. So here it is 1 plus omega, 1 into omega will be omega, plus omega to the power 3 is 1. So 1 to the power 10 will be 1. So 1 into omega squared is omega squared is equals to 0. And this is the same thing we are getting. So 1 plus omega squared is always 0. So this value is n equals to 4 is also satisfying the given equation. So the value of n can be 4 also. Now let us now check whether n value 5 will satisfy or not. Okay. Now I am checking n equals to 5 satisfying or not. Okay. Now put n equals to 5 in the given equation. Okay. So put n equals to 5. So what I will have? 1 plus omega 4 into 5, 20, plus omega 8 into 5, 40 is equals to 0. So this I am writing it as 1 plus omega to the power 20. I am writing omega to the power 3 whole to the power 6. So 3 6 are 18 into omega squared. So 18 plus 2 is 20. So this omega to the power 20, I am writing it as omega to the power 3 whole to the power 6 into omega squared. Similarly, omega to the power 40, I am writing it as omega to the power 3 whole to the power 13. So 3 13 are 39 into omega. So 39 plus 1 will become 40. So omega to the power 40, I am writing it as omega to the power 3 whole to the power 13 into omega. So this is 0. So omega to the power 3 value is 1. So 1 to the power 6 will be 1. Okay. So 1 into omega squared will be omega squared. Okay. And similarly here omega to the power 3 is 1. So 1 to the power 13 will be 1, and 1 into omega will be omega. So this is 0. So here this value we are getting, and this always the value is 0. So n equals to 5 is also satisfying the given equation. So n value can be 5 as well. So what are the possible values of n which are satisfying the given equation? Is 1, 2, 4 and 5. Okay, 3 is not the possible value. So from among the 5 alternatives given, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, okay, 1, 2, 4, 5 are satisfying the given equation value of n. So that is the answer. Okay, I hope that you must have understood this sum. Okay, thanks for watching the video. Okay, stay fine. Okay, thanks.